The war on drugs is the systematic prohibition of a variety of substances going on here in the U.S., like marijuana, cocaine, heroin, meth, LSD, drugs. The United States government has made all of these substances illegal, and therefore anyone who possesses or distributes these substances, they can face time in this happy place called prison. And despite the fact that all of these drugs have the exact same effects as pills and prescriptions that you can pick up at your local CVS or Walgreens, people who use these drugs can still have their lives ruined by being sent to prison. People who use these drugs still have to buy these substances from ruthless, brutal drug cartels, which live and die by these people buying these substances on their black market. And even with the argument that I just presented, people are still turned off by the idea of ending the war on drugs. So, now is the time to present some statistics. These stats are from the Drug Policy Alliance, and they draw a telling picture of just how ridiculous and counterproductive the war on drugs has been. First statistic illustrates how costly this system has been. The war on drugs cost the U.S. more than $51 billion each year. And if you factor in how many years we have been instituting these policies, this system has cost the government well over $1 trillion. Just think about our failing schools, our crumbling infrastructure, dysfunctional healthcare system. They would have loved to have $1 trillion to spend. Well, it was spent on this nonsense, which I'm about to describe for you. Due to the war on drugs, more than 1.5 million people were arrested in 2013 alone for non-violent drug charges. 1.5 million people now have their records tarnished because of those arrests. 1.5 million people are now going to have trouble getting a job, going to college. Thanks, war on drugs. Nearly 700,000 people were arrested for a marijuana law violation in 2013, and 88% of those arrests, they were for possession alone. So just because you have some compressed, colored plants on you, your record is now tarnished, and some of you were even sent to prison. And this next statistic, it shows that this system, it's not just damaging here, but it's also damaging in other countries as well. In Mexico, more than 100,000 people have been killed in the war going on there between mega drug cartels there since 2006. And the reason why this is directly connected to the United States war on drugs is because the U.S., it's the #1 drug-using country in the world, and the government knows that. And when you have hundreds of millions of people trying to buy something that is against the law, they are going to buy it somewhere else, and they end up buying it illegally from these brutal drug cartels. Because these drugs are illegal, we're keeping alive brutal, cold-blooded organizations of people that slaughter others on a daily basis. More than 100,000 people have died because of these policies in a foreign country. Man. And gangs are also strengthened here at home because of the war on drugs. The Bloods, the Crips, the Mafia, M13, all of these notorious criminal organizations that people are killed by every day in the streets. They live and die by the fact that these substances are illegal. So people have to run to them to get the drugs. The war on drugs is keeping these gangs alive. And that's a major, major problem, man. However, the war on drugs impacts do not end there. More than 200,000 students over time have lost their eligibility for financial aid because of drug convictions. Just think about that for a second. In a time where the U.S. is 37th in the world in education, more than 200,000 people's chances of going to college were severely depleted because they wanted to smoke a joint. And speaking of smoking a joint, the state of California alone could have made $1.4 billion last year if it taxed and regulated the sale of marijuana. And the numbers are even more promising on a national scale. The United States government could have made $46.7 billion last year if we taxed illegal drugs like alcohol or tobacco. That's $46.7 billion. Think about that, man. The war on drugs, it cost us $51 billion each year. This is nearly $100 billion each year the U.S. government could be both saving and making if we did the right thing and ended the war on drugs. Now, people strike back to this whole spiel of statistics that I just laid out with the same old rhetoric. Drugs are bad. Everybody's going to be high as crap and addicted. Oh my gosh, the sky is turning green with all this weed. Just sit back, relax, and listen to the facts. Most of these drugs have the exact same effects as prescription drugs. Cocaine, it's an upper. It gives you energy by temporarily altering your brain to make you feel a little happier. Same thing with antidepressants, 5-hour energy, caffeine, similar effects, same effects. Caffeine can become addictive. Antidepressants, prescriptions can sure as heck become addictive. Marijuana, it relaxes you. It makes you have this great release of this chemical called dopamine, which gives you that high, sensational feeling that makes you feel like you're floating in the clouds. Xanax releases you. Visceral releases you. These are all medications that you can buy over the counter. And if you have these substances, you aren't going to be sent to prison. Your life isn't ruined. You don't contribute to the endless gang violence by going to the black market and buying these substances from the Bloods and the Crips and the Mafia. So why do we have these double standards with very similar substances in all of these illegal drugs? Alright, now here is how we go about this. Legalizing all of these substances. Marijuana, cocaine, meth, LSD, heroin, ecstasy, all of it. We have to legalize all of these drugs so that we can add all of the necessary laws and regulations to make sure that its use can be as safe as possible. Listen, if alcohol and tobacco and pills and prescriptions are all legal, then all of these substances should be legal as well. And to the idea that legalization will increase drug use, nonsense. Completely unfounded. In Portugal, they decriminalized all drugs across the board. If you were caught selling and using drugs, you were no longer considered a criminal, but a patient. Your addiction was now going to be properly treated, and the government was going to help you instead of throwing you into a jail cell for a few years. Now you will probably think, you're being too soft. They're just going to get a slap on the wrist and do it again. Nope. Drug use did not increase, and all of these issues related to drug use, like HIV and overdoses, they all dramatically dropped. This can and will work if we finally get some sense and end this war on drugs. It's only pushing people to the black market, which is creating much of the crime going on right now in this country. It's destroying people's lives by arresting them and throwing them in prison. It's costly, and it's depriving this country of entirely new industries that are being created. It's a complete disaster. The time is now to end the war on drugs. Thanks for listening to New Progressive Era. Remember to hit that subscribe button so you can go ahead and get these videos as soon as I put them up. And join the New Progressive Era community by following us on Twitter at New Liberal Era. The link is in the description. Remember, progressive people, keep the fight alive. Have a fantastic day, everybody.